In Javria, Emperor Rubicon meets with his father to observe water lilies imported from Memphis. These flowers, a tribute from the governor of Memphis province, were carefully transported across the Philistine Sea to mark the beginning of the flowering season. The emperor mentions that General Sarvis, recently promoted to the rank of youngest senator, will be joining them shortly. He instructs Rubicon to maintain a close relationship with Sarvis, emphasizing the importance of being well informed about developments in Javria as his heir. When Sarvis arrives, the emperor reminds him of the promised reward for his military victories, any city within the empire as his fiefdom, excluding Javria. Sarvis chooses Bellefontaine, impressing the emperor with his discerning choice of this unique and precious city. The high priest Merari arrives, offering blessings to the emperor. A conversation ensues about mortality and legacy, with the emperor boasting about his accomplishments, including conquering the civilized world and transforming the Philistine Sea into an inland lake. The emperor mentions a letter from the Memphis governor about an ancient legend claiming their sun god was captured by conquerors from the Arsakid Empire. This sparks his interest in this distant eastern realm with its distinct culture. Intrigued by the possibility of capturing a god, the emperor commands Rubicon, Sarvis, and Merari to journey to the Arsakid Empire and bring back the sun god. His instructions are clear. If they refuse, destroy them. If they comply, their fate can be decided by the emissaries. The expedition reaches the legendary tower that reaches the heavens, once thought to be mere fiction. The tower, built in the land formerly known as Obed, inspires awe even in the conquerors, who recognize it as an achievement beyond military conquest. Discussion turns to handling the surrendered Arsakid Empire. Rubicon authorizes the high priest to manage the integration of these distant subjects, using gentler methods than force, while still fulfilling the emperor's will. Historical context reveals that Emperor Darius brought the god of the sun from Memphis to Obed 5 centuries earlier, establishing the greatest empire in Obed before Japheth rose to power. The Tower of Babel is deemed the most fitting place for the glorious trophy. Someone named Hemion receives an artifact that was believed to be the god of the sun, but appears to be just a copper sphere. Time seems to shift as characters examine letters from the Arsakid Empire, dating back approximately 2,000 years. They struggle to determine their exact temporal location while studying various documents, including legal records, mathematics, and engineering lists. The history of Obed features an unremarkable 5th emperor who ruled during a time when the empire had fallen under outside control. During this period, the Japheth Empire in the west, led by Emperor Thurinus, was at its peak with armies extending to the farthest reaches of the known world, including the eastern Arsakid Empire. Emperor Thurinus sent an expedition to Obed, led by his son Rubicon, the high priest Merari, and General Sarvis. Mysteriously, this expedition did not result in Obed becoming a new province of Japheth, which was unusual for that era. No records or treaties explaining this truce survived through history. Throughout this conflict, the Tower of Babel remained under its existing ownership, protected by Ameon across generations. The knowledge within the tower was considered too valuable to destroy, and the keeper's talents were respected as long as they cooperated with ruling powers. Arshen, daughter of the previous director of the tower, was originally planned to become the next director before the arrival of the current one. Her duty involves safeguarding the tower and the Library of Babel, including protecting the current director. The characters discover evidence of a battle, possibly related to the Obed-Japheth War. They explore an area where the main path ends, deciding to investigate what lies below. The group encounters someone who recognizes them as travelers from the future. This person confirms that the war between Obed and the Japheth Empire has ended, with Emperor Thuranis having prepared for a full-scale war, but the fifth Emperor of Obed surrendering quickly. The local contact reveals contempt for the fifth Emperor of Obed, who immediately backed down when discovering that Japheth only wanted a specific item from the Tower of Babel, Memphis's god of the sun, a large metal sphere previously captured by Emperor Darius after conquering Memphis. The metal sphere was sent away by Rubicon days earlier and should be nearing Ephrathah on the coast of the Philistine Sea, from where it would be shipped to Javriel. This connects to the Star of Ephrathah, an astronomical anomaly that appeared 2,000 years ago. Prince Rubicon and his Praetorians remain in the library after securing the copper sphere. Rubicon, having learned about the Library of Babel from the fifth emperor, considered it even more valuable than the sphere and brought his soldiers inside the Tower of Babel. Historical records describe the Star of Ephrathah as an unusually bright star that appeared around 2000 BC, remaining fixed over Ephrathah along the Philistine seacoast before vanishing. The group now believes this star was actually Aten, the sphere, which somehow ascended and emitted radiance briefly. The group follows traces left by marching soldiers, hoping to reason with the Japhethians. They encounter soldiers who mention their general is looking for them, revealing that the Japhethians have become trapped in the labyrinthine structure and need help. They meet General Sarvis, a Japhethian senator serving Prince Rubicon. Sarvis expresses admiration for the Library of Babel, but requests help finding a way out. He confirms they came to retrieve Aten, the ancient god of the sun, from Memphis on Emperor Thuranis's orders. The group questions Sarvis about harnessing Aten's power, surprising him with the suggestion that the metal sphere can be controlled with commands. Sarvis becomes suspicious, believing they might be stalling to separate him from Prince Rubicon, and tensions rise as he demands they lead his forces out of the labyrinth. A military conflict unfolds as a general expresses disappointment at not finding worthy opponents while his soldiers eagerly seek combat. The general commands his troops to engage the Emeons, challenging them to demonstrate their legendary skills. After observing the Emeons in battle, he acknowledges their professional training, but criticizes their poor coordination. He mocks them, suggesting they might excel in gladiator battles against beasts, but are ineffective against his battle-hardened legion. As monsters begin swarming in, the general orders his soldiers to maintain phalanx formation and not underestimate their opponents. He instructs them to eliminate the monsters while capturing the Emeons alive. A master director is urged to activate a time machine for escape, with a suggestion to travel 1 month into the future to evade their pursuers. After time traveling, confusion arises about whether they've actually moved forward a month. A peaceful encounter occurs with someone referencing a previous agreement. This person thanks the Emeons, calling them mouthpieces of gods who delivered divine words that helped appease the god of the sun's wrath, saving the world from destruction and allowing people to see the true sun again. The grateful person presents a note the Emeons apparently asked them to write down. Later, a conversation reveals someone was rescued from a labyrinth thanks to a royal intervention and the Emeons' presence. They discuss encountering peculiarly dressed Emeons in a tower who made incomprehensible claims about a copper sphere being a living entity activated through specific commands. The mysterious Emeons claimed an ancient sun god would rise again over Ephrathah, holding certain individuals responsible. When asked about these Emeons' whereabouts, someone explains they intended to capture them alive for information. Despite being skilled fighters, their poor coordination made them vulnerable, but they vanished into thin air just as soldiers closed in. After experiencing numerous miracles in a library, someone expresses amazement at possessing such a treasure. They believe this library of Babel contains answers to all worldly questions. A negotiation involving the Arsakid Empire becoming a vassal state is mentioned, but orders are given to besiege the city instead, with intentions to capture Obed, seize the tower, and claim the library for Japheth. A messenger arrives with news about escorting the god of the sun to Jovriel. The messenger reports that while staying at Epherthal under Herod's dominion, they witnessed an extraordinary event at midnight, the sun rising beneath the stars. Despite initial skepticism, the messenger insists this actually happened. A group claiming to be descendants of Memphis priests reveals ancient secrets passed down through oral tradition. They explain how priests during Pharaoh Akhenaten's era discovered how to control the sun using the language of gods. By reciting divine words, they claim one can make the sun rise on command, attaining divinity and immortality as ancient pharaohs did. A ruler questions why they should continue kneeling before someone described as a tyrant, allowing their country to become merely a province. They decide to witness for themselves if the claims about controlling the sun are true. After a ritual involving the phrase, "Arise, sun," a dramatic transformation occurs, with the declaration that even stars will pale in comparison to this awakened sun. Characters discuss time travel, revealing they've arrived in Darius's era, approximately 500 years before the 5th emperor's reign. They note Darius was the first to bring Aten from Memphis to Obed and harness the sun's power. The knowledge to activate Aten was apparently lost by the Japheth era, making Darius's time crucial for finding this information. A giant encountered previously becomes a topic of concern. One character recalls seeing something similar when entering the Tower of Babel and activating the dormant beacon. The giant in their time was missing its lower half, raising uncertainty about whether it's the same entity. According to Master Ninsar, artifacts from the mutilated giant belong to Darius, confirming they came from this era. Someone interrupts to clarify it was their first time seeing the giant, questioning what provoked its anger. The group lacks sufficient information to understand its behavior, noting its contradictory actions, first wanting to kill them, then appearing happy to see them. They discuss a puzzling second encounter with Sarvis that occurred a month after their initial meeting. A realization emerges that during the month-long gap, Aten must have been reactivated and transformed into the Star of Ephertha. Sarvis credited them with delivering divine words that saved the world from destruction, suggesting they helped deactivate Aten. This connects to a prophecy warning that actions taken to prevent tragedy might actually cause it. The group understands they obtained and delivered a command to Sarvis, but it wasn't their present selves. Rather, it was their future selves. Their time travels caused the prophecy to fulfill itself. Now they bear responsibility for both saving the library in their era and the world in Sarvis's era by finding the command to deactivate Aten. One character refuses to elaborate on time paradoxes, mentioning Emeon scholars who specialize in this field. They admit to ignoring those lectures, but emphasize the severe consequences of failure. The scene concludes with the group encountering numerous soldiers from the Immortal Army, Darius's Praetorians, inexplicably wandering inside the library. A desperate plea from someone seeking forgiveness from Your Majesty ends the segment. The search continues for someone to reason with in this strange place. Pesky creatures appear again, prompting a suggestion to use a time-stopping ability on them. A realization comes that this era is truly bizarre, with Immortal Army soldiers wandering the library for quite some time, looking worn out. Emperor Darius ruled the ancient Obed Empire 2,500 years ago, making it the most powerful empire in the world. However, Towards the end of his reign, he inexplicably lost interest in governing, causing Obed to decline rapidly. Meanwhile, historical records about Emion are sparse, as their leader Pythagoras vanished mysteriously, leaving a blank in historical records during this era. Emperor Darius is approached by Farhad, a loyal member of his immortal army. Instead of joining the celebration after conquering Memphis, Darius remains secluded, gazing at stars. He shares his philosophical musings about the spherical nature of Earth and his desire to conquer distant stars. Farhad pledges unwavering loyalty, promising to follow Darius wherever commanded. Darius awakens from a dream, feeling cold and old. He contemplates his mortality and the running out of time. He then summons the Emians, demanding answers about a copper sphere that grants immortality. Despite giving them a decade for research, their response remains unchanged. They need more time to understand something that transcends human comprehension. Frustrated with the Emians' inability to provide what he seeks, Darius makes the unprecedented decision to use violence against them. He orders his immortal army to storm their tower and seize their library, believing it must contain the secret to immortality. The Emians warn that while he may rule the land, knowledge itself does not yield to might. The scene shifts to the present, where characters seek answers about what happened. They spot the heart of something and flee to Fry. They notice an artifact previously non-functional, now working. With the main pack blocked, they show innovation to proceed. They see people in the distance and decide to investigate. The group encounters Farhad, a surviving member of the Immortal Army. He reveals they were sent by Emperor Darius to take over the Tower and Library of Babel years ago, seeking the truth about the God of the Sun in Memphis. Farhad is disoriented, having been trapped in this nightmarish place for years. Farhad explains that Emperor Darius wanted to uncover the secret to immortality from the God of the Sun, hoping to live forever and conquer distant stars. The Immortal Army was tasked with finding a divine scroll with this knowledge. Suddenly, Farhad has a mental breakdown, attacking before regaining composure. He expresses shame at failing his emperor and pleads to return to Darius before dying. A group of travelers find themselves in a mysterious place that feels familiar to one of them. They discover a hidden device in the center that can take them below, with the switch concealed under a tome glorifying His Majesty. The atmosphere is tense as they navigate this space, with one character questioning the silence of gods. The travelers recognize a throne-like shape ahead, realizing they are approaching His Majesty's location. They encounter Farhad, a member of the scout squad who appears exhausted. Despite his condition, Farhad insists on proceeding without assistance, claiming he has witnessed boundless lands with His Majesty and must demonstrate his capability. Something strange occurs, preventing movement. A desperate plea is made for His Majesty to descend from the throne. Tension escalates when His Majesty refuses to be told how to punish soldiers, declaring that those who have failed him are no different from deserters, deserving punishment. His Majesty, now identified as Darius, interrogates the travelers. When they claim to be from 2,500 years in the future, he initially dismisses this as mockery. However, they present a fragment of his crown as proof. Darius demands information about who rules Obed in the future, and they respond that Obed will require no ruler by then. After a tense exchange, the travelers attempt to placate Darius by claiming his empire will become so vast that Obed will be insignificant in comparison. They propose a trade, information about immortality in exchange for Darius revealing what he knows about the God of the Sun. The travelers cleverly suggest that they need Darius's knowledge to complete their understanding of immortality, implying a time loop where past and future information must connect. They claim Darius himself sent them back with the crown fragment to discover this truth. Darius sees through their deception, identifying logical flaws in their story. He commands his immortal army to attack them, but pauses when they warn that killing them would sever the time loop, preventing him from ever achieving immortality. This threat gives Darius pause. Darius reveals his limited knowledge. The language of the gods is a palindrome, with words that read the same forward and backward, but cause the sun god to perform different actions. Unfortunately, he lacks the vocabulary to utilize this knowledge. When he demands the secret of immortality in return, the travelers bluntly state it doesn't exist. Enraged by this betrayal, Darius orders his immortal army to hunt down the travelers to the world's end. The scene shifts to Darius continuing his expedition despite warnings from his soldiers. He commands them to cease supporting the Aemeons, declaring he doesn't need false mouthpieces of the gods. As resources dwindle during their journey, Darius orders his horse killed for food, reminiscing about a similar sacrifice during an attack on Delphi. Later, encountering unfamiliar books, he dismisses their strangeness, confident he'll conquer their lands someday. He offers his loyal friend Fahad the option to return home while he continues forward. A narrative shifts to the travelers realizing why they've been entangled with Darius. They conclude that a giant encountered earlier is actually Darius, transformed by the library itself. The library, described as alive with its own wisdom, responds to obsessive thoughts, explaining how their deception of Darius created this situation. A complex time loop is revealed where cause and effect become intertwined in the Library of Babel. The characters learn they must continue this loop as the fate of two eras depends on it. Their next step involves finding Sarvis between their two previous encounters to inform him about divine words that can stop Aten, or the Star of Ephrathah, which threatens to burn everything to ashes. The characters encounter Japheth's soldiers who recognize them as Aemeons. Rather than capturing them, the soldiers explain that General Sarvis needs their help with an extraordinary problem that only Aemeons can solve. Though the soldiers are separated from their general, they direct the Aemeons to find Sarvis, refusing to join due to their decimated numbers. The group enters the unknown sector, a nightmarish place where finding someone is extremely difficult and familiar roles no longer apply. After navigating through changing paths, they spot Sarvis surrounded by danger. Despite initial hesitation about helping him, they decide to rescue the general. Sarvis explains that a ruler named Herod activated the god of the sun, Copper Sphere, after learning secrets from exiled Memphian priests. Though Herod sought godhood, the Memphians actually wanted revenge for his brutality. After activating the sphere, Herod killed all the priests, leaving no one who knew how to deactivate it as it burned above Ephrathah, threatening to eventually dry the Philistine Sea and burn Javril. The solution is revealed. The divine language is a palindrome, meaning the command to activate the sphere is also the command to deactivate it. Sarvis needs to repeat Herod's words to revert the sphere to its previous state. He asks for escort out of the library, having lost many soldiers. The group battles through the library, facing stone gates and creatures. Sarvis demonstrates impressive strength, breaking through obstacles. In exchange for their help, the Aemeons request a copy of the divine words from Herod, which Sarvis agrees to provide after resolving the crisis. Outside the library, a high priest and royalty await anxiously until Sarvis returns with news of the solution. Upon his return, the ruler decides to sign a peace treaty with the Arsakid Empire, ending the war with Obed. The ruler explains this change of heart, reflecting on how the burning star resembles divine revelation. They acknowledge that Japheth isn't ready to confront such power, and that governing is harder than conquering. Seeing the star and library has made them realize there are forces beyond human control, and they must retreat rather than disturb the balance that has existed for thousands of years. The artificial star, despite its destructive nature, is acknowledged as beautiful and extraordinary. There's a sense of awe at whoever crafted it, with hope that if not witnessed personally, future generations might see the hands that forged it. However, sentimentality must be set aside to restore the true sun. Plans are made to return to the time sector where Sarvis was met to learn divine words that can stop Aten. This world has seen ancient mysteries misused by people with ill intentions, but now there's knowledge of how to deactivate them, which is crucial. Nemesis is identified as another group who knows the secrets of anomalies. They operate under the motto, all deeds have consequences. All debts must be paid. Their philosophy contrasts with Emian's approach to powerful artifacts. Powerful artifacts, like Aten, can easily obliterate civilizations, even revealing a fraction of its existence changed world events, as seen in Akhenaten and the war between Japheth and Obed. People frantically sought it for various reasons: immortality, power, or just to witness its glory. Questions arise about whether advanced technology should be revealed to society. Would nuclear fusion bring an energy revolution or another war? Humans repeatedly make the same mistakes despite believing in their superior intelligence. The power of the unknown is described as a sweet poison. Emian's philosophy is to hide powerful artifacts from the world, protecting them from exploitation and allowing their existence to fade into oblivion. Other organizations share similar ideals: Florentine in Japheth, Waisha in Sion, and Delphic Oracle in Delphi. Not everyone agrees with hiding powerful artifacts. Nemesis believes in exploiting unknown powers to advance human civilization, potentially propelling it forward by hundreds of years. They show no concern for the societal impacts of their actions. With the Library of Babel open, Emian cannot stop outsiders from entering the tower, though intruders would likely become lost in the infinite information. There's regret about a future version not providing more details, though this person is acknowledged as smart and cautious. A paradoxical meeting occurs, with two groups of the same people appearing simultaneously. Sarvis expresses gratitude to the Emians for their past help, presenting them with a copy of the divine words as promised. Sarvis acknowledges Emian's principles of discretion while pledging eternal gratitude for their heroic deed that saved Japheth. He swears by his domain, Bellefontaine, that he, his family, and descendants will honor this oath forever. In a philosophical conversation, it is established that regardless of how far one travels on Earth, they will never reach an end, but merely return to their starting point. This concept is elaborated as the speaker explains that birth is a sphere, where the notion of an end doesn't truly exist. The listener is directed to observe the sky, where celestial bodies like the moon, sun, and stars are all spheres of varying sizes. The listener contemplates this cosmic perspective, realizing that all conquered lands amount to merely a speck of dust in a vast universe. The speaker confirms this humbling truth, but adds that this speck is still precious as their homeland. They suggest that perhaps only by traversing the metaphorical desert containing countless specks of dust would one truly reach the world's end. When asked about frustration regarding this revelation, the listener warns that speculating on their thoughts is a capital offense. The speaker apologizes and explains finding solace in realizing human struggles are insignificant compared to the cosmic scale. They reflect how daily conflicts over land, food, and faith fade when contemplating the starry sky. The cosmic perspective reveals that the world doesn't revolve around us. Our challenges are compared to a toddler's cries, significant only due to limited perception. Gazing at stars prompts re-evaluation of human importance in the grand scheme. Despite stretching, humans can never reach the stars with their hands. A listener responds with unexpected enthusiasm rather than frustration. Instead of being discouraged by the vastness of the universe, they interpret the existence of countless worlds as endless opportunities for conquest. They criticize the speaker for merely revering the world's vastness, declaring that conquest is the highest homage they can offer. With ambitious determination, the listener declares they will be the one to conquer distant stars. Later, they question whether this dream was achieved. Addressing someone as a favorite servant, they invite them to share in their glory and dreams, envisioning a future where they'll leave footprints across the expanse of sky.